both. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name is Chuck Wooden and I'll be your host as always. We have two special guests with us tonight from the Quilts of Valor Foundation. I knew I would get that right. Before we get moving, for those that haven't watched the Veterans Corner, it's a show for our veterans. It's dedicated to our veterans. It's dedicated to the families and all those who support the veteran community. We have shows on that anybody that does anything with veterans, we have them on. It's a good platform to get the word out. So welcome to the show. To my close right, Jane Doherty. She is the Connecticut co-coordinator.
Yes.
Actually, and we also have the other Connecticut co-coordinator, Cindy Gindert. Did I say that right?
Almost.
Oh. Gindert.
That's
there we go. Anybody that's watched this show knows that I have a tendency of butchering names, so I do apologize. But welcome to the show.
Thanks.
It's great to have you here. I know I've heard a lot of great things for what you guys do. I've seen it on social media, you know, the quilts that you guys put together. And it's an honor to have you here to discuss and let the viewers know exactly what you do. How did the Quilts of Valor get started and when?
In 2003, Catherine Roberts, a mom, nurse midwife, and quilter, was about to deploy her most precious son, Nate, to Iraq. Very scary place.
Yes.
So instead of watching the awful news, she turned to her sewing machine and she made a quilt. In those days, she lived in Delaware. She took the quilt to Bethesda. She met John Callerson. Now, John's wife, Connie, is a quilter, so John speaks quilt, as you will do better at by the end of the night. John knows how wonderful quilts are. John is also a chaplain, and he blessed that very first quilt and presented it to a young man from the upper Midwest who had lost a leg. He came back to Catherine and said that was absolutely amazing to tell this young man that someone he didn't know had made something that significant for him. So from Catherine's kitchen table and the local fabric store, arm twisting, begging, threatening, we have grown. Yeah. So from 2003, November, we're a little over 15 years of age, and we have wrapped over 214,000 of our service people and veterans. There are 3 to 4 million veterans out there. We have a ways to go. That's in itself 214,000. I didn't expect to put the comma and the 3 zeros after that. That's amazing.
In Connecticut, we've been awarding somewhere between 500 and 600 quilts a year for the past couple of years.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's, you know, a lot of the shows that we do, you know, it's the first time that a lot of us hear what our guests do for the, you know, veteran community. And that's the first time I've heard that, and it's, that's amazing, the number, 214,000. And you said over 500 a year just here in Connecticut.
Yep.
You know, and I think the next question that I was going to ask is it just here in Connecticut? But I think you answered my question, Jane.
We're actually international. There's Quilts of Valor Canada, Quilts of Valor UK, and Quilts of Valor Australia. Almost all the 50 states have coordinators such as Cindy and I. And within the states, many of the states have several groups, organizations, folks who gather together with their friends or sew at home alone, run sew days, have a wonderful time. It's amazing. Most of our quilts are not made by a single person. There's somebody who goes shopping for the fabric. There's somebody who cuts the fabric and starts a kit, because we're totally crazy. We buy great big pieces of fabric, cut it up into little pieces with other little friends that it has, and then sew it back together into a big piece of fabric again. Quilts are 3 layers. They're very decorative, colorful top that you see behind us, because these are all, well, almost all completed quilts behind us. There is a backing on the quilt, and then there's a batting, which is the nice warm layer in the middle that keeps your Snuggie warm. It's like the peanut butter and jelly in the middle of your sandwich.
Yep.
And then there's somebody who has a magical machine called a long arm quilting machine. And these can range from 8 feet long to 14 feet long and are substantial in price and substantial in needing space, because if your machine's 8 feet long, you've got to have a little more space than that. This room would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
You could take that on.
We'll talk to Nutmeg about
Yeah, later. So you have somebody who shops, you have somebody who cuts, you have somebody who sews, you have the long arm quilters, probably somebody else. And if you've got folks who want to participate but aren't up to sewing with a machine anymore, the final step is hand sewing the binding down and adding the label to the quilt. So these are infused by love and care and prayer and concern, because we all know that these are going to go wrap one of our heroes.
Yeah, and it means, just like the first one, it means so much to them. I mean, I've seen some of the ceremonies on social media, be it at the Capitol, I think the American Legion, I think you did something down there for them, right?
We get around.
Yeah.
We have very, very good friends in various American Legion posts.
Yeah.
Saturday, I was at the American Legion in Clinton and ran a sew day, and we had 30 or so folks who were there sewing, ironing, binding. We had 8 folks who came in that were wrapped and presented with their quilts. Family came and supported them. And it's a wonderful opportunity for a veteran who doesn't speak quilt, doesn't have a clue what happens, to walk into some place as comfortable as the Legion building and see all these folks and want to quickly squash any misconceptions, because we're not all female.
Yeah.
We have some guys who are absolutely wonderful, dedicated quilters and long armors. We're equal opportunity users.
A long armor, is that pretty much like a long sewing machine?
That's the great big long sewing
with
machine
a deep
that
throat that it could.
actually you drive it, back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a power tool with thread.
Yeah.
it is. And we've hooked many a guy with that turn of phrase. It's just a power tool. You can do this.
And then when they get in there, it's fun. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, we put the chain around their ankle, and they're happy to stay
Handcuffs.
there. Yeah,
And
no,
then
handcuffs, you need your hands.
Leg irons so they
Yeah.
can't run.
Yeah.
No, I mean, how many volunteers do you have? I mean, is it, like you said,
What's our mailing list?
Our mailing list is probably somewhere between 300 and 400 people in the state of Connecticut. Because the mail client has a limit of 100 that you can send out at once. And so I've had to split the mailing list into 4 pieces to be able to mail out our monthly newsletter every month.
Wow. Now, when you popped into Clinton, I know that's right on Route 1. I've been in there for functions before. The people that were there, they're from that area, or they're from all around the state?
One lady came with her granddaughter from Plymouth. That's a ride.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She was probably the farthest. We had folks from Wallingford, from Hamden. We have groupies.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. We'll be in Southington this Saturday at a care facility. It's the first time we are going there. We have no idea what we're going to walk in and find, but we expect they have tables and chairs, and we'll show up with other tables and cutting instruments and ironing boards and irons and kits, and the magic happens. It's wonderful.
Well, I tell you, we have our Facebook page for the show. Whenever you have events, please send it to me, and I'll make sure that it gets posted out there.
Awesome. Thanks.
We try to do that for our guests. Whenever you have an event going on or where you need help, I have a feeling that the Facebook page is going to get flooded. But no, that's what it's there for. That's what it's there for, to try to help, all the organizations that come on the show.
There's a national Facebook page, but Connecticut also has a Facebook page. And the response to people seeing a quilt that they made wrapped around a veteran, especially if they couldn't be there to present it because that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
If you're at a sew day and your quilt's being presented, you get to be the person
To
to
present.
wrap the veteran
Yeah.
and give him the first hug.
Yeah.
That's how I got hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
She's devious that way.
Yeah. just telling the story on Saturday, I watched a gentleman sitting at the front table and never met him before, and he was in tears. He was not receiving a quilt. He was just there listening to the story, seeing everybody involved. And he came up to me afterwards and said both his parents were World War II veterans, mom and dad. They have both passed, unfortunately. And our quilts, we can't make them fast enough. They only go to the living.
yeah.
Sorry, you gotta draw a line.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. But yeah,
I mean, 500 and some odd. I mean, that's a lot of hours.
Yep.
it's
But talking about drawing the line, though, you don't have to have served overseas.
Yeah.
You don't have to have been wounded in combat. The criteria is touched by war.
that's our
It's
mission
that
statement.
simple.
If you stood there and you raised your right hand and said, "I swear to defend," you didn't get a choice of where to go.
No.
You
And
did your job.
You know, we've had many discussions on this show and behind the scenes. You know, there are veterans who, just because they were stateside the whole time, they don't feel as if they played, you know, an important role. But they're so far wrong on that, because without them doing what they're doing, the troops that are on the lines couldn't do what they do. So it's a massive team effort. Anybody that raised their hand, we're all veterans. You don't have to, you know, be in theater and be on the lines.
I had a gentleman on Saturday night that after I wrapped him in his quilt, he whispered as I was wrapping him, he said, "Can I give this back to you that you can give it to somebody else who deserves it more?"
Yeah.
He was a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
And I said, "Honey, no, you earned this."
Yeah. That statement itself speaks
It
volumes.
does.
Not only about that gentleman, but that veteran, but all other veterans that think that way.
Yep.
And most do. I'm sure that's not the first time that you've had something like that be said.
We had a gentleman who self-nominated. And they tried a couple of times, invited him to sew days to be awarded his quilt. And after his third no-show, he sent an email that said, "I thought I could do this, but I can't.
Yeah.
Please take my name off your list. He said, "I don't think I deserve it."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, we disagree with you, but we respect your decision."
Yeah. It's now the quilts themselves. I mean, obviously, I think I've answered my own question. I was going to ask if they're all the same.
No.
Now, obviously, they are not. Is there any ones that have any meaning,
Well,
or they're all just creative?
it depends on where you're heading with meaning.
Yeah.
Occasionally you've had
Well, you know what I meant to say.
yes, but
it's,
occasionally you have someone who will nominate someone who is special to them in their family or so on, and they know something about the person and they can tell you about them.
Yeah.
So that we are totally blessed, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. 214,000 quilts. Each quilt's about 10 yards of fabric. So you add another 0 at the end of that great big number. And that's how much fabric we've already used.
Yeah.
And the fabric industry is phenomenal in saying, what would you like to see? So if maybe the cameras can zoom in on some of the quilts behind us, the square in the center of the star on the top row says, "Thank you."
Yeah.
It's right there. The presidents are going around the outer border on that fabric. So if you know somebody, do you know Don Clady? Has he been on this show? Don Clady is a car guy, and there is a line of fabric called Old Guys Rule. Wonderful creative things like "In Rust We Trust."
Yeah.
It took a while to look this good. And we found that fabric and we said, "Oh, that's Don." And
Yeah.
so we made him a quilt of that fabric and tracked him down and wrapped him in it. So sometimes we know who the quilt's going to.
Yeah.
When Catherine got started, you might have found Army or Navy fabric. You never would have found Coast Guard fabric. You can find fabric for all the branches of the service these days. And it's wonderful to do that. You know, if you get into greens and taupes and golds and so on, you're talking Army.
Yeah.
Earth colors. Blue and yellow, that's Air Force.
Yep.
And scarlet and gold, of course, is Marines.
Yeah.
I'm married to a Marine. I have to do that.
Is he around?
Yeah. My chauffeur. He's wonderful. And very supportive, because Cindy will say the same thing. There isn't a room in your house, really, that hasn't been invaded somehow or other by fabric and thread and so on. It's just everywhere. And
Once you develop the passion for it, I mean, it kind of, engulfs you.
Yep.
I mean, anything we do, I mean, a lot of times it's scattered around, wherever you may live.
Exactly.
And it reminds you of what your mission is.
Yep.
absolutely.
Now you'll notice the quilts back here, they're not all red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
But when quilts go overseas, because we have standing commitments to provide quilts to the military hospitals in Kandahar, Afghanistan, Landstuhl, Germany, and Qatar, those have to be red, white, and blue, and they have to be in a presentation case, which to us looks a lot like a pillowcase.
Yeah.
So it comes out in a pillowcase, and we still use them here in Connecticut, even though they've become optional for stateside use.
Yeah.
Now, Jane and I both have four-legged quilt inspectors, and so we find that this keeps a lot of the fur on the outside as opposed to on the nice quilt inside.
It protects them.
Yeah.
So every Quilt of Valor has a label on it that says it's a Quilt of Valor. Will tell you who made it, and it will tell you who the recipient is. The quilt also comes with a letter that will repeat some of the things that we have told you today. So how are we going to do this?
Would you
Hang
like to
on,
see
folks.
how a Quilt of Valor is presented, Chuck? Because this one has your name on it.
Wow. I'm honored. Let's see if we can stand up without.
Oop, I'm standing on my tail, or somebody's tail.
There you
Thank
go.
you. All right, so I haven't
my
seen this.
mic. I don't know if I can stand up any further.
Well,
Okay.
we can come to you, maybe.
We'll come
We'll
to
make
you.
it work.
Yeah. So you're a star, darling, with your own show and everything.
I'm gonna have to-
Isn't that gorgeous?
I got to bend down. My mic's going to get yanked off.
Okay, you take that one.
Wow.
I'm not sure how long my
Stay-
tail is.
Stay put right there, because this is how a Quilt of Valor is presented. The veteran is wrapped and hugged, and Cindy can hug you because she's closer. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Unexpected.
Thank you.
It's. Don't know what to say.
We're good at this.
Yeah.
We've done this to many people, and now you can try to sit down. Now, most of the time, we caution folks that you're wearing a skirt, and most guys are not trained in skirtdom, so do be careful.
I'm not.
Yeah. So do be careful.
Now, your nomination came in through our national website, which is www.qovf.org. And once nominations come in from there, they get, all the ones for Connecticut get directed to us. And then we just pick up with the nominator and start making arrangements.
You've been a marked man for a while.
Have I?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm speechless.
That's expected too.
Yeah. It's an honor. Thank you.
Now then, here's my favorite part.
Yeah.
You're used to taking orders. This comes with very serious finger shaking orders. This quilt is to be used.
Yeah.
It goes in your favorite place, couch, recliner, wherever you are most of the time. If you have little people in your life, they are allowed on it or under it. You have a beautiful board game there. You can count stars and come up with your own game rules. If they're four-leggeds in your life, they are allowed on it or under it. If you are watching your favorite team and they do something wonderful or totally stupid and you share your snack with your quilt, it's perfectly fine. It was washed before it came to you.
Okay.
Toss it in the washing machine, cold water, a little while in the dryer, and get it back in use. Use your quilt.
I will.
Very good.
I can't say it enough. Thank you. It's like I said, you wasn't expecting that.
Good.
But
like good
I kind
surprises.
of figured something when you had that and you started pulling. I said, oh.
Yeah.
But
Well, just in a nutshell, you saw something that is very similar to, it's an award ceremony.
Yeah, I mean,
This one we do it in people's homes.
It's a touching experience.
Yeah. Sometimes it's for one person. Sometimes it's for 10 or 11. It all depends on what the nominator helps us work out in terms of where we can catch up with that person.
So I've been a marked man for a while.
You have been a marked man.
Well, yeah, like I said, speechless. Thank you. I'm being told we got 5 minutes left, but
Well, Cindy's got a great story of a, what was his son at a home presentation. You're grinning, you know, I led you nicely.
Thank you. A lot of families have family Christmas that doesn't normally fall on Christmas. It's when the family can manage to get everybody together. And this one was in early December out in, I think it was Burlington. I did the presentation of the quilt, and as soon as I was done, one of the sons walked up and slapped a Post-it note with his name on it on the quilt, and the whole room started laughing. Mom and Dad are looking down the road in terms of downsizing, and they have told the kids, if there's something in this house that you want when we're gone, put your name on it. So less than 10 minutes after acquiring his quilt, one of his sons had claimed it.
wow. Well, I mean, it's not just a quilt.
No,
No.
I mean, there's a lot of meaning to that.
Yep.
there is.
You know, I mean, for the you know, folks that created it to what you just did.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a, you know, with the time left that we have, I know I had a bunch of questions, but do you mail quilts to recipients, or you
Never.
don't?
No.
Yeah,
No,
it's always
you have to have
yeah,
this experience.
Yeah, and I can.
What we have done is we have mailed quilts to people near where the recipient is.
Yeah.
And had them award it for us. I mailed a quilt to a person in Wisconsin. I'm originally from Wisconsin, and it was for the father of one of my high school classmates. So I made the quilt, I mailed it out there, and somebody else did the presentation for me.
For those out there that think that they might want it mailed, I can tell you right now, you do not want it mailed. It's the ceremony part of it is well worth being on the receiving end. Once again, you left me speechless, and it takes a lot to do that for those that know me. How can people help if they want to help out? Is there a website? Is there a phone number, email address?
We're always willing to teach people to sew. You can come to any of our sew days. A Facebook page has our upcoming events listed on it. Come join us, come play with us, come see what we're doing. If they would like to make a donation, it can be, do we have an address there? Email either Cindy or I, and we will give you home addresses so that financial donations can come this way. We would ask that it's made out to Quilts of Valor, Connecticut, and then we send the monies into National, and they reimburse us because we send receipts along the line. Okay. We're very happy shoppers.
Yeah.
Hard to pass a fabric store.
Yeah. I can see why. I mean, it's you know, we covered the contact information. You shared with us one of the stories.
Yep.
Do you have another quick one that you might want to share?
I did a presentation in Plainville. A man had nominated his wife, who was still in the Air Force Reserve. And we did the entire presentation and mentioned that quilts went to the military hospital in Kandahar. And afterwards, she looked at me, she says, "You mentioned Kandahar?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "I always wondered where the quilts in that closet came from." And she says, "And now I have my own."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this probably could have been a two-part show. We do that a lot, actually. If you ever want to come back, I'd love to have you come back. I mean, that's about all the time we have. 25 minutes goes by pretty fast. You know, I know I'm repeating myself, but thank you very much.
Use your quilt.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it was great to have you here. I know we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yep.
So I'm getting word from the control room, the thank you part. I know I'm beating that dead horse when I say thank you, but if you're on this end here, I don't think you can say thank you enough. So with that being said, you know, I won't say it again. I'll say it again. Thank you for being here. I want to thank the viewers for watching. You know, it was a touching show. Thanks for watching. You're watching the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden. Good night.